What I'm seeing is the fall of the U.S. government. Not only the U.S. government, but sort of a worldwide thing. And I know from other sources, not from remote viewing, there's a push toward a one world government. OWOGers, we call them. OWOG, one world, one government. And the plan has been pushed for decades, and it's coming to fruition. And in order to have one world, one government, you have to destroy the U.S., you have to destroy Russia, you have to destroy Greece for some reason, I'm not sure, and then France and England.
Welcome back. I'm here with Lynn Buchanan. Lynn, as always, it's a pleasure seeing you again.
Good seeing you. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, at some point we'll get Dave on, I know. It was his idea that we'd get together.
Yeah, I was hoping to see him here this time, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but between when he suggested that we do something and now, I think he moved and he's just dealing with a bunch of things. But
I think he got a new house, or you said, Dave's a great guy. He really is.
Yeah, 100%. But we'll do it someday, probably in a few weeks, hopefully. Yeah. But we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. All right. So there's been a lot of crazy stuff in the news. We bombed Iran.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians are on the verge of collapsing Ukraine. There's something about the Germans getting ready for war. I haven't checked that, by the way. I need to go and learn a little bit more about that. There's the president is funding Ukraine despite campaign promises. I'm not going to get into politics, but the way I would describe it is it feels like the empire strikes back, right? The Epstein list was a list, then it wasn't a list. And by the way, both administrations behaved consistently in this manner. They don't release this stuff. So a few months back, maybe a year or so back, we had recorded 2 videos about a remote viewing session you did for a major technology corporation back in the late 90s that predicted a lot of chaos between the years 2020 and 2040. So if you could just quickly rehash some of what you saw there, and then we're going to apply that to what's happened so far for the rest of the episode. Yeah.
Basically, what I saw was that there was a tipping point as to whether it was going to happen or not. And that was around the end of 2012. And what was it? December the 21st, 2012 or something was the end of the Mayan calendar.
And that's the winter solstice, isn't it? That's the winter solstice.
Something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah. And so I put that out as a prediction that, we do something now or the tipping point's going to come. And from that point on, it's going to carry through. There's no changing it. Well, that came. Nobody did anything. And
when you said nobody did anything, what were they supposed to, or what actions were they supposed to take?
Take serious action about the climate, about the government, about, the injustices and all that, and just stand up and take charge. The people take charge. I mean, it's no secret, the government we have now is not for the people, by the people, or it's
against the people, basically.
Well, not against the people, but, lawyers grew up to be politicians and make laws. Other lawyers grew up to be judges and enforce the laws that the other lawyers have made. And the rest of the lawyers we hire to protect us from the judges and the laws, and it's a government by the lawyers, really. And when you vote, you don't vote for a president, you don't vote for a bill or anything like that. You vote for a representative who is then going to vote And the public vote never matches the representative vote and all that. So the public, we don't have a government by the people.
To advertise on Through a Glass Darkly, email throughaglassdarkly@gmail.com.
And I'm writing a book about this, by the way.
Mafiocracy, right?
Mafiocracy. Everything that made the mafia a success is now being legally used by the government. Money laundering, prostitution, all of it. And you pay your income tax, right? Look in the back of the envelope when you send in your check for the income tax. It says, this is for your protection. It's the old protection scheme. You pay your money or they come and they break you. It's the mafia. We live in a mafiocracy. We do. Mm-hmm. And anyway, this was a large part of the thing that I had seen back in 1998. And by the way, I did not know about Stephen Schwartz's thing that he had done in 95. I just found out about that a couple of years ago.
And, yeah, I interviewed him too about the same stuff.
Yeah, he had basically said the same thing, yeah. And seen the same, his people had, yeah. And yeah, what I'm seeing is the fall of the U.S. government. Not only the U.S. government, but sort of a worldwide thing. And I know from other sources, not from remote viewing, there's a push toward a one world government. OWOGers, we call them. OWOG, one world, one government. And the plan has been pushed for decades, and it's coming to fruition, And in order to have one world, one government, you have to destroy the U.S., you have to destroy Russia, you have to destroy Greece for some reason, I'm not sure, and then France and England, and destroy those governments. And then you'll have the ability to have a one world government. And I'm not sure it's a bad thing, but the way you have to go about destroying governments is a bad thing, I think at some point, when we get into space and we become a spacefaring nation, we will have to have a one world government. I don't think we're ready for it now, but I think we're going to have it. And the AI, people now are afraid of AI. That's because we've been taught to fear everything. Yeah, can't even let your kids play in the front yard during the daytime anymore because you've got to be afraid. And the thing that nobody's talking about is if the other civilizations are more advanced than we are, then maybe AI is going to be the thing that's going to equalize us once we get there into space. And so I know that human history develops toward its own future. The future happens because of what has been developed, but what develops prepares you for the future that's going to happen anyway. And so I think the development of AI, we can be afraid of it and teach it to treat us with fear, or we can go to AI and say, hey, can you help me? Thank you for helping me. And can you do this? And can you do this for me and all that? And teach it to want to help us. But people are just so ready to be afraid of everything, when what they need to do is they need to say, hey, this is a new tool. I can teach it to want to help me. And they don't do that. Anyway, I'll get off that pulpit.
No, but you're right. I think what's going to happen, and you can corroborate this if you saw it in any of the work that you did, I think what you're going to see, at least regarding AI, is it's going to democratize corporations. So as an example, there was a whole, people used to complain that corporations were people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Basically psychopaths, right? But I think that's literally going to happen with AI, right? Like you're going to have a corporation, it's just one person. I'm going to have a corporation, it's one person, because I can have
Well,
AI.
I've already got that.
Yeah, well, I already have that too. So,
Yeah.
but like you can have AI write legal contracts. Now, for more
Oh, yeah.
complex contracts, you're probably going to want to go to a lawyer. But if I just need to hire a contractor, you get one that's good enough, right? It's not, it might miss like an indemnification clause, but now that I know that, I'll make
Yeah.
sure I put it in the next one. So I think people who figure that out early, the gains are going to accrue to them. Now, if you
Oh, yeah.
want to continue working in a 9 to 5 and kind of processing simple tasks, yeah, there's going to be a lot of disruption there. So just like everything,
Yeah.
right? When the automobile came by, right, the guy that shoveled crap off the roads that the horses piled up
Lost his job.
lost his
Yeah.
job, right? But do
Yeah.
you really want to? Do you really want to still do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely the case there. With respect to the United States and what's going on, what Stefan Schwartz and what you saw, there's also, I don't know anything about astrology. I interviewed my first astrologer,
I don't know either.
but they're looking at the constellations and they call this thing New Pluto. And
Yeah.
when New Pluto is around, New Pluto was around when the Roman Empire fell the first time. It was around when the Roman
Yeah.
Empire fell the second time, and it is now. So who knows what this is going to look like? And we're also in the fourth turning, right? You know all about the Generations book that was in the 1990s.
No, I don't.
So I'll quickly cover it because people don't want to hear me talk; they want to hear you talk. But there were two social scientists, Strauss and Howe, and they wrote this book called Generations. And what they did is they analyzed historical cycles going all the way back to like the 1600s. And they found these periods of time that they dubbed seculums. And a seculum is an 80-year period, an 80-year cycle. And there's 4 turnings in that cycle. And we're in what they call the fourth turning, which is crisis. The last fourth turning was in 1945. That's 80 years ago. World War II. Okay, or end of World War II. The one before that, 1865. End of the Civil War. So, and these things are regular, like they happen on the regular. So we are in the fourth turning right now. So those 2 other random data points kind of fit. Anyway, I didn't mean to take too much of the ground.
Well, I know that the patterns, history does repeat itself. And when you have the rise of a dictator, the first thing that leads up to a dictatorship is the messing up of the media. The next thing is you get rid of education. The next thing is you get rid of social services. Then at some point, Pol Pot, Nazi and all that, you get rid of the intelligentsia.
Well, here's the issue here, though, is the media and the intelligentsia are getting rid of themselves, right?
Well, yeah.
Right? Because last 30 years, the media's lied about everything or...
I know, yeah.
And then the intelligentsia...
Is you make everybody afraid, and you do racism, the golden race, the superior race, and all this, and you get...
The weird thing, though, in this cycle is it appears to be inverted, right? Like the racism...
It seems to be following... I think it's following the standard pattern.
But it's less that there's like a superior race and more that there's an inferior race. And...
Well, that's always the true, get rid of the Jews, okay? Send them out of the country. get rid of them and
yeah. By the way, we don't agree with that. We're just saying as an example.
No, we don't. That's an example of the Nazi regime.
The scapegoat.
That was one of the standard things in Pol Pot, in almost in the French Revolution, everything. Take those who are not like us and get rid of them. And it's all following a standard pattern, just step by step by step.
But you understand what I'm saying about inversion, right? Like there was this broad attack on white males. And I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to be a victim or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like in 2021, the S&P 500, they make up maybe 30% of the population, but only 5% of the new jobs in 2021 in the S&P 500 companies were given to white males, which is, that's statistically significant instance of
my son went into the military. He wanted to be a photographer because he's a fantastic photographer, and they needed photographers, but he couldn't get the job. They had openings for photographers and they were needing photographers. He couldn't get it because he wasn't female.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go into that, but I just wanted to make the point that there appears to be an inversion, and then that inversion was buttressed by like the flooding of the border, right? Which there are many factors. Part of it is both parties kind of taking advantage of the situation. The Democrats, because it was perceived to increase their voting base, and the Republicans because it made the Democrats look bad, right? So they both let it happen. But it also served moneyed interests because it drives the cost of labor down. Right. Yeah. So
I don't see what's happening as being the fault of any one person, that we elect for president or don't elect or whatever. I don't see that I see it as a thing behind any one person controlling that one person. And I see it as a planned thing. I see it as history repeating itself. It's going to happen,
But who is planning this, though? Because it feels oddly coordinated, but there's nobody out in the open that is capable, we know of, is capable of
never be out in the open. No. No. And, we can aim love or hatred at any one political person, but, that's misplaced love or hatred, period.
Yeah, they're just doing the bidding of their funders, basically.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Anyway, the one thing that has disturbed me about the prediction, and I think it's going to come true within the next 10 to 15 years, is that I saw the killing off of about 75% of the population.
Now, how do you think that happens? I thought part of it, I have to be very careful with my words here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would be due to complications associated with a certain medical procedure?
Yeah, you take away medical benefits, people die.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm talking about a certain
certain viruses that are made in a laboratory that kill people off. Yeah, okay.
and then the thing to protect them that also kills people off.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about people getting rich. Oh man, COVID made some billionaires. It really did. Yeah.
Who cannot be sued, cannot be.
That's right, yeah.
The good news is there was a Japanese study that basically said if you haven't perished within 2 years of having the medical procedure,
the Fauci,
then you were likely to survive. You were likely to have, although there was another study that's saying the life expectancy of those who went with Fauci versus those who did not. And not everyone went willingly with Fauci, by the way. There was a 32% life expectancy decrease on average. Now, it could be that in that...
For those who did not get the shot?
No. For those who did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But those two
I
studies...
shouldn't...
Those two studies are out simultaneously. So it could be the spike was so high in those first 2 years that that's what lowered, the data. And the other study, if you're out of that 2-year window, you're free and clear. Or they're just two studies that fundamentally disagree with each other. I'm not endorsing either because I don't want to have this video removed, but I'm just stating kind of what's out there. That's all.
I probably shouldn't tell this, but years in the past, so now, when they said you can't get on a plane without your COVID shot and all this, and you can't travel and all that, I was being pushed by my family to get the Fauci ouchie and all this. And so I went into a pharmacy in El Paso and I asked for what's the one that kind of went?
Moderna?
Yeah, I think that was it.
One that was not mRNA?
Yeah,
There was, I think Johnson & Johnson was...
Johnson & Johnson, yeah.
That one was even worse. That one was even... They had to pull that one.
I told the pharmacist, that I didn't want the shot, but I had to get it in order to go, do my presentations and all that. And so he had me sit in the waiting room. He came into the waiting room with the shot. He shot it into the waste can and signed my thing and said, "You've just had your shot." And so I never got the shot.
Did he tell you why he did that? Like, had he seen outcomes?
Because he agreed. He agreed. Yeah, he told me that he agreed. He said,
I had to get it for my job. I had to get it for my job.
Oh, yeah. Well, he said that members of his family had gotten the shot and they all got sick. And he agreed. Yeah. And anyway.
Yeah, look, I had the virus. I had the virus in the early days, and I just didn't know what it was yet. I just had this cough for like 8 weeks. It wouldn't go away, but that's it.
Yeah. At one point, about, I guess, a year later, I caught COVID. And I've had worse bad colds than that.
Yeah. Yeah, my reaction to the shot was, fortunately, it wasn't as bad as others, but I had my lymph nodes under my arms swell up. I'm like, what?
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, all I know
and I
is
felt sick for
he may have had to throw it. He may have had to throw his trash can away, but it may have gotten sick. I don't know.
Anyway, we're not medical experts. The history of this has not been written yet, but anyway.
But I am absolutely glad that I never got the shot.
Well, I think my whole point bringing it up is I thought that was going to result in, or could potentially have been one of the things that took out a lot of the population on either side of it, with the disease or the cure, right? Yeah. But it looks like it's probably not. So what did you see that kind of did result in that?
What I saw, you mean for the depopulation? I saw basically the end of healthcare, not just the funding of healthcare, but basically the end of healthcare. Not that people weren't getting the money for healthcare, but the healthcare itself was just basically disbanded. And also things like, I think there's probably going to be increased chemtrails coming up.
You see the EPA, the head of the EPA is checking that out? Cloud seeding?
Well,
yeah, he made an announcement the other day where he's like, for full transparency, we're going to look into it. He's not saying we did it or anything like that, but
I hope he doesn't fall out of a window somewhere.
Well, no, I can already tell you what's going to happen. Look, Lynn, it's obvious. Look, we checked it out. There's absolutely nothing there. It's like the drones. FAA approved research experiments over nuclear power plants. Totally fine. SUV-sized
yeah.
drones. Yeah, we're fine. It's totally fine.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like with what list? The list that we talked about 3 weeks ago? No. There is no list. Doesn't exist. Yeah.
I don't know if you know or not, but there is a new terminology. The drones are the small drones that we see, and the ones you can buy and all that. The drones used in warfare are now called, I think,
Unmanned aerial systems.
Unmanned aerial systems, and they're the size. They're larger than a car.
Yeah.
They're huge. Yeah. And one flew over the house not too long ago, and they're noisy. I mean, they're not stealth at all, and they have them here at the base, and they, practice with them. They don't bomb anything here, but,
Well, it's you live near Alamogordo, so what base is nearby?
Holloman Air Force Base.
Oh, that Holloman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're doing a lot of work. Yeah.
Okay, so when I say that Holloman, that's the alleged place where like Eisenhower met with. I don't know. I have
ETs.
No idea if that started with ETs and signed the Grenada Treaty.
Along that line, July the 4th this year, the Space Center up here, the Space Museum, normally has fireworks. And last year, the fireworks started a fire, on the mountain. And so this year they had a drone display. And the drones went up and formed the U.S. flag and all this and all that. And so the next night, a friend of mine had his own fireworks display out on his ranch. And 10 of us went out there for a private showing of the fireworks. And we had the fireworks better than most. He spent a couple of $1,000s on this fireworks display. And between the times when the fireworks were going up, there was nothing to do except sit and talk. And we were sitting there out in the field watching. And during the span of time, we watched at least 20 UFOs going over. I mean, they're here all the time now. And
what do you think is driving that?
Well, they're not flying low. I've only seen them flying low here, I think about 3 times in the last 20 years. But yeah, they're flying over, and you can tell they're not satellites because they'll change direction and all this, change speed and all that. And so, yeah, but they're here.
Yeah, by the way, I got a great video of Starlink flying over my house. Right? You can just see these.
Well,
like
Starlink doesn't change direction either.
No, but it follows in an arc. Like, there's like 5 of them all, and
Yeah, it's a satellite. Yeah.
But okay, so the depopulation. So end of medical care. When does that roughly happen?
Well, that started already,
Yeah. So that ends, what else? Because 75%, that's more than just the end of medical.
What I saw in that prediction is that at some point, probably around 2035 or 2040, the, quote, dictatorship will become unnecessary. The one world government will get started. And what will happen is that the government of the world will start taking care of the world. And local governments will come back into effect. We'll have a lot of agrarian societies because we'll have less people. We'll have the greater technology where we can make our own food, make our own tools and all that. And we'll become, as families and family groups, more self-sufficient, and that actually life will wind up being better for the survivors.
Because there'll be no government, basically.
No government intervention in your private life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because the government will be spending his time governing the world economy, the world military, the world everything, and all that. So basically what I saw was a very terrible time between now and then, winding up in a better world. Just, survive. The trick now is to survive, be part of the 25% that survives,
What other things would reduce that population, though?
There's actually no way to tell. I saw people making their own things, It's what I saw. I had no idea about 3D printers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how to make your own tools out of milk. You can make wrenches and all that out of milk. People have been doing that for centuries, making buttons out of milk and all this, making pacing tools and all that. But I had no idea about 3D printers. I just saw people making their own tools and their own necessities, So I got generalities. I didn't really get that many specifics.
But you saw no nukes or anything like that?
No, I didn't. No.
What about micronovas, geophysical events, things?
Well, geophysical events, yeah. And I saw the, geophysical events, which at the time I didn't know about the solar minimum. The solar minimum's coming up. And that's historically the solar minimum has been crop failures, famines and all that in all countries. I didn't even know about that. But I just found out a year or two ago about the solar minimum. A lot of the solar things, the magnetic North Pole is now traveling 40 miles south a year and is expected to flip, which will not affect the world. It'll just affect the technology. And so, all of these things that I didn't see, what I was seeing was the effects. And so as to what caused these effects, I really didn't go into the thing, When I finish a session and look at the feedback, I always think, man, if I had gone one page more, I would have gotten that. And I didn't,
Did you see kind of like the broad destruction of electronics or anything like that, where people just didn't have access to technology?
No, I saw technology developing even further.
Okay.
And further to the point where, again, technology usually advances as needed. It's as though at a subconscious level, we know the future and we develop for it. And what I saw was technology advancing toward the needs that we will have once all of this happens. And that's where I saw people making their own tools, people making their own car parts, all of this other stuff. And so I think technology is going to keep advancing, and I'm glad. Yeah. And listen, I'm for AI. What I'm against is everybody being scared of everything. I mean, AI, it's going to kill us. No, it's going to do what we train it to do. You train it to help you, it'll help you. That's simple.
Yeah. And as long as the powers that be don't train it to...
Oh, yeah, they're going to train it to help them. Yeah, they're going to train it to help them. But, at some point, no matter how much of the population they get rid of, they're going to need the population.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to have to train it.
Population's not going to... But the population... Well, are you talking about they, you mean the government?
Whatever's behind the government that we never know about, they're going to have to train the AI to protect us and to benefit the survivors. Mm-hmm. So,
Well, the last time you had like a massive die off like that was during the Dark Ages. And
Yeah.
what that did is that
Mhm.
led to the guild system, which basically put
Yeah.
workers and, well, skilled artisans in the
Yeah.
driver's seat. Like it really
Yeah.
broke the back of the nobility. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll see something like that here where it just breaks the back of the elites, psychopathic
Yeah.
elites.
Well, I know for myself, I have set myself up. I have my own water supply, deep, deep well. I produce my own electricity. I'm still connected to the grid, but if the grid fails, I flip a switch and I'm self-sufficient, you know? And I know that when the grid fails, that a huge part of the population, they don't know what to do, you know?
Yeah, if there were an EMP that hit the US, I think
Mhm.
90% of the population would die within a month
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
from like
And something like
starvation,
that can
from.
happen. Yeah.
But did you see any grid failures in that remote viewing session?
I think that's part of it. And I don't know if you've been watching Stephen Greer.
Not actively, because look,
Yeah.
30 years ago or 20 years ago, I think he was kind of on the level. Now I think
Yeah.
Ron Pandolfi's whispering into his ear, and CIA.
Yeah, quite a bit. But he does have access to information. And he's right. We don't need tanks and weapons anymore. That's just a deflection. As far as war is concerned, hey, we can flood another country out or make it go dry so that the crops fail. The Russians have earthquake weapons. They could hit the Canary Islands,
And cause
La
a
Palma,
tsunami.
and that would wipe out the U.S. coast, the East Coast. They could hit Yellowstone National Park, wipe out the central U.S. And it's not in their interest. It's not in the interest of anybody to do that. But we don't need tanks and guns anymore. One country can destroy another these days, basically with the flip of a switch. So,
Or they can just get on Twitter and tell Americans that one specific bank was failing,
oh yeah,
and
and they'll be run on that bank, and it'll
and
fail.
yeah, the
Yeah,
bank collapses, and then you have a systematic I
yeah,
shouldn't probably, I probably shouldn't have said
I know.
that, but
Well, here again, fear. Fear is a weapon. You make people afraid, and you've got control over them. And the fact is, people, if they stop being afraid, they stop having a reason to be afraid. It's as simple as that, you know?
yeah. Of all the stuff that's happened so far, how much of it kind of was right on the
I
base?
I hate to say this, but it's following just right along, the number of genius children being born, the number of epileptic problems and all that are rising exactly as predicted. I keep thinking, I hope I didn't have 100% accurate session, but I keep seeing the things fall into place in ways that I never expected, like the 3D printers and all that.
Or like Zoom, where people stopped, going to schools, and
Yeah.
right, empty schools you
Yeah.
saw. Yeah.
Empty schools, empty buildings, people working from home instead of going to offices, things like that predicted all of those things. But like when I saw people making their own tools and all that, back then, all I knew about was how to make wrenches out of milk. It's extremely easy. Anybody can do it at home. And look up casein, and you'll see how to turn milk into steel. But back then, I interpreted it by what I knew back then. And these technological advances have been surprising me. but still falling right into place with what results I found. And so I keep hoping that I didn't have a 100% accurate session, but they keep happening. So what I've been doing over the years is I've been preparing to be a survivor. Simple as that. I don't do the prepper, dig holes in the ground and all that. I don't do any of that. I just try to make sure I'm going to survive. My kids.
You should hear what some of the elites are doing. Apparently, they have bunker conferences where, like, the sales companies that are selling bumpers, and their biggest fear is how to keep their security forces loyal. And you can tell that they're on the wrong track when the ideas that are being floated are explosive collars and stuff like that.
The thing is, you hire people to protect you and your family and die in the process. No, they're going to protect themselves.
Yeah.
This is duh.
Especially when money won't mean anything at that point.
That's right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right. So, any final words for the audience?
Not that I can think of. Just look toward your own security and plan ahead. Don't depend on the system to take care of you, because the system's going to take care of itself. Save money. The money's going to wind up being worthless, but those who have it, will be better than those who don't. And, listen, my bank told me, get a CD that is going to be 5% interest. And I got a CD for $200,000. And so at 9 months, the CD became thing, and I got 3% interest. And I said, wait a minute, 3% interest? He said, yeah, it was 5% per year. It only lasted for 9 months, so you only get 3%. If I had bought gold at that time, I would have made over $100,000 profit. You just try to be smart,
Yeah.
And you don't have $200,000 to do that. You have $2. Hey,
Yeah, it compounds. And the earlier you start, the more
it compounds. It does. And, plan ahead. Don't waste your money on. I see people who put out hundreds of dollars every year for a new cell phone when they don't need one. But it's neat. It's got a new fad, and it's got a new thing that they don't ever wind up using anyway.
Well, I'll buy the absolute top of the line iPhone and MacBook once every 5 years. It'll cost a lot of money, but it will last for 5 years.
This computer that I have right here, I have 3 screens. I have 30 terabytes of memory, of disk space and all that. And I've had this thing for 12 years, and I'm going to keep it until this thing just crumbles into dust, and it's still working fine,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Lynn, as always.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, it's
I always enjoy talking to you. Yeah.
I do as well. But we got another episode after this, so I look forward to that one as well.
All right, good. All right.
If you enjoyed today's video, please hit like and subscribe, and also hit the notification button so you can be notified whenever I post new content. Thank you. Now, if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support it, there are several things you can do. In fact, there are 5 things you can do. The first thing you can do is just buy my books. I got plenty of books out in the market right now, and I would prefer that folks buy a book rather than giving me direct support, because they get something out of it. They get a real tangible product. The second way you can support me is by becoming a member on YouTube or becoming a patron on Patreon. And just go to either site and it'll explain everything. third way you can support the channel is by checking out my merch site, which is here. There's plenty of stuff that you can get to support the channel. And I'd appreciate that you have it and you can wear it. Not only do you help support the channel, but you also help promote the channel, and I appreciate that. The fourth way that you can support the channel, and this is really easy, is anytime you want to buy something on Amazon, literally just go to the description below and click on any link, literally any link. The channel gets a cut of that, and it costs you no extra money. You just go through the link, as I'm part of the Amazon Affiliates Club. The fifth and final way you can support the channel is through donations. Now, I don't prefer these because it's more of an expression of gratitude, but you don't really get anything out of it as a subscriber to the channel. However, if you decide to do these options, there's two options. There's Buy Me a Coffee, which is a separate site. And there's also, you can go through YouTube with either a super chat, super sticker, or a super thanks. Again, I prefer Buy Me a Coffee because that organization takes less money than Amazon does. But either way, I appreciate any support you are willing to give the channel. So thank you very much and keep watching. I really appreciate it.